welcome. D.E N CITY tonight, episode 4. A couple of things to talk about tonight. And like I said, I hope you guys come back. Those who are joining me already. As with any live broadcast, sometimes things go wrong. And my live was cut short for a second. But hopefully that won't happen again. How's everybody doing this week? Once again, it's Monday night, 8 p.m. And we are here live, D.E N CITY tonight, coming to you from the Den. And where do we begin? Where do we begin for the week that we've had? The week that a lot of us have never imagined or never thought we would ever see. First of all, you see the blue color in the background there. And if you joined me before my live went off for a second, I had played the song Georgia. And that was in celebration of Warnock and also of taking the last 2 Senate seats in our lovely state of Georgia. And effectively giving the Senate to the Democratic Party. 50-50 split with the deciding vote given by the Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So, congratulations. Hopefully they do something, we do something positive with it. Hopefully we make some changes that are going to be good for everyone, not just for liberals or Democrats or against Republicans, but just good for everyone. It's about some time we did stuff for everyone. That being said, my people, let's talk about the word of the week. The new word of the week, like if those people who know Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, he had his word of the day. With this word of the week, insurrection. What is it? What is insurrection? It's mutiny, revolt, anarchy, a coup d'etat against the state or federal authority. That is insurrection. It means just revolting, revolution. This country was founded on revolution. It was founded on standing up for principle. It's what made the U.S., notwithstanding slavery and taking of the land from the Native Americans. We won't talk about that right now. We'll talk about the fact of rising up against tyranny and creating your own nation. That's what this country was founded on. 1807, the Insurrection Act. It gives the President of the United States the power to deploy the military within our country to disperse any type of rebellion or insurrection. It gives the President the power to do that. However, what do you do if the insurrection is basically because of the president and the fact that a certain part of the population don't want him to leave office? It's not even an insurrection where we're trying to get rid of the current leader. They're trying to keep the current leader. And so they are rising up. However, this revolution, in my opinion, and in probably millions of people's opinion, is a revolution that's built on lies. It's a revolution that's built on misinformation, on supremacy, certain races. It's built on lies that are being told by people who know that they're lying, but still continue to tell the lie. There are many people right now, as I'm speaking, that believe this just past election was stolen. It's fraudulent. It doesn't matter what you tell them. It doesn't matter what courts say that it wasn't, because on the state level, on the lower courts, on the appellate courts, on the Supreme Court, they've all said this was a fair election. And even though there were some irregularities, they were not anywhere near the irregularities that would change the outcome of this election. But you have a master of ceremony, the ultimate puppet master, having people believe that there's no way that he could have lost. You know, I never thought reading, you know, stories about Hitler, and let me preface this by saying I'm not calling anyone a Nazi. I'm not going to do that. I'm talking about the ability for one man to convince millions of people that what he is saying is the truth, and only what he is saying is the truth. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes skill. It takes the ability to feed into and find out what makes people upset, to find out what is making them feel out of sorts, which makes them feel out of place, to find the keys to get inside their head. Not anybody, just anybody can do that. And this man has found a way to infiltrate the minds of millions. I see people on my timeline, people that I've known for years, some family members who refuse to look at what happened this past week and see it for what it was. They look at it and they speak about everything except the actual people that were involved and the reason they were involved. They've given free rein to anyone who believes the story, and they will not allow anyone who has a counterpoint to it to have any kind of space in their mind. It's incredible. And I didn't think I would see that. I thought that after this week, people would be like, wow, you know what? I was wrong. This is crazy. This is above and beyond. This can't happen. This is the United States of America. We got people rushing the Capitol and they're knocking over police officers and they're breaking stuff and they're stealing stuff and these are clowns. No, it's not what I'm seeing. And it's kind of scary. It's kind of surreal. It's like you're watching one of those movies where it talks about the end of civilization, and you say that stuff can't happen. That's ridiculous. Well, it's not so ridiculous right now. And considering that a lot of those people, as the FBI is hearing, they're planning rallies or whatever you want to call it, uprisings in all the 50 states, in all the 50 state capitals. I mean, that's what the FBI is hearing. Could be true, could be not true. Some of those events may be peaceful. I don't know. I don't think so. I think right now, the rage that has risen up and been allowed to fester in people has reached a point where there almost may be no turning back unless military and law enforcement can shut this down in its tracks. People quite often think, I read something today, or I saw a video. I don't know if it was TikTok. Not that I use TikTok as my, news sources, but sometimes you get a little bit of interesting tidbits on there. And one thing that somebody said was, nobody thinks they're a villain. Well, 90% of the people don't think they're villains. You have some people that know what they're doing is wrong and know what they're doing is evil. But then you have another group of people that think what they're doing is just. They believe in their heart and in their mind that what they see and how they see it is the way it is. That they are fighting for a right, that they are fighting for something, and they will act upon it blindly. And I think that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a people that have been told lies so often that they believe them. We're seeing the people that have been fed so many different stories about why it is that they're not in the position that they want to be in and whose fault it is, that they've taken all that in, and now they're, after they've internalized it, they're letting it all come out. And you can blame Trump. You can blame Trump, but he's not to blame alone. No way. There are people that have enabled this behavior, that have enabled these lies, that have not countered them with any other correct information. If you allow misinformation to fester, if you allow misinformation to fill the minds of those that you say you were supposed to serve and work for, then you're just as guilty as the person that's creating the lies. Maybe even more so, because you know better. You know better. You know it's bull. You know it's not true. But if it fits your narrative and if it helps your political agenda, then you go along with it. But what happened is that those chickens have come home to roost, and all those people who've gone along with everything that this man has said, now they're wondering how do they get out of it? How do they? That's why you got so many people that are resigning now. Oh, I have to resign because I can't, in good conscience, continue to work in this administration. You've worked in this administration for 4 years, and it's been the same things that have been being said since the beginning. So why now? Because people have died? Because police officers have died? Because civilians were shot? Is that now why you got to jump ship? Did it take you that long? Did it take that much of a situation to cause you to say, hey, maybe this is not the right guy to be following? Don't know. It's a little crazy if you ask me. It's definitely a little crazy. But we'll see what happens. We have, I don't know, is it 8 more days? Something like that. Today's the 11th. 9 more days before the inauguration. And like I said, the FBI has already said that people are going to go and, do protests at every state capital. Be safe out there, everyone. White, black, Spanish, gay, straight, old, young, just be safe. Pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to your neighborhood, what's being said, and be safe, because I think it's going to get a little crazier before it gets any better. And, it's going to take everyone, finding a way to get past this. And look, I'm not, there have been a lot of people that have been talking about, we got to come together, we have to, unite the country. Listen, I'm all for uniting the country. I'm all for coming together and forgiving and all that stuff. But what I'm not for is looking the other way when there is a group of people wanting to hurt my way of life, that are specifically looking to take away my liberties, that are specifically looking to take away, the essence of what this country is about. And what's funny is I'm saying that, I'm sure they're saying the same thing. Or a lot of them are saying the same thing. Oh, you're not going to take away my liberties. But the funny thing is that nobody's trying to take away your liberties. No one's trying to change the way you live, per se. I mean, we've always been back and forth in this country, Democrat president, Republican president. It's crazy how it seems that now, and a lot of this is media based. My brother wrote me the other day and he said, we need to be careful when we have all encompassing language. When we say, oh, the media does this, or the media does that. And I said, you're right, we need to be careful with all encompassing language. But what I have realized is that we've all have been guilty of all encompassing language. The Republicans are this way. The conservatives are this way. The Democrats are this way. The liberals are this way. It's all encompassing. It's either yes or no. There's no middle ground. There's no, you may be conservative, but you're not a racist. Doesn't necessarily mean to be those two coincide. You may be, Democrat, but you're not an ultra liberal that believes in no laws and no type of accountability. When did how long has it been since we've had some type of middle ground? I mean, I think over the last 10 years, the media has played a big role. Congress has played a big role in alienating and making the other side look evil, not just different, just evil. And that's where the problem begins, when you go from saying someone is different to saying someone is just bad. You say that long enough, and depending on which side you're on, you're going to believe that about the other side. You're going to believe that about those people. If something is said enough times, it tends to become a perception, a reality. And when divisiveness becomes the go-to, when divisiveness becomes the norm, something that's happened, this thing that's happened this past week is inevitable. It's inevitable because you build up resentment and anger, and you don't talk to each other, you talk at each other, and you don't have any sense of regard for the other person. When that happens, ultimately the confrontation is going to occur. And more often than not, it's going to be much more volatile and much more aggressive than it needs to be. So I don't know what we're going to do, people. I don't know what's going to happen these next couple of days. I know that I'll be here next Monday at 8 o'clock. Hopefully, unless we're all on some type of lockdown and we can't do anything. But even then, I would try to be on here for all you guys. We need to find out. We need to find out what we're going to do. We need to find a way to get past this. And I'm hoping that we can. And I'm hoping that going into the future, we find a way to get back to respecting each other. Not necessarily agreeing with each other. Not necessarily embracing the other's vision, but respecting each other. And I just hope that happens sooner than later. On that note, let's switch gears a little bit, people. Let's switch gears a little bit because I want to say congratulations. I want to say congratulations to two people in sports, okay? Two people in sports that have been having a hard time over the last couple of years. That first one is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. They finally won a playoff game against the Titans, beating them 20-13. And he got that monkey off his back because it was a big, big monkey. It was all the talk about him not being able to win a playoff game, that he couldn't do what he does in the regular season in the playoffs, that a running quarterback can't get it done. He got it done. He got it done decisively. So congratulations to Lamar Jackson, and let's see what happens in the next round. And the next person the next team I want to congratulate is the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, yeah, they finally got past a playoff series. And they beat the Steelers 48-37. They were 28-0 in the first quarter. And the game started with a defensive touchdown, 7 points. Defensive touchdown from Cleveland, and they never recovered from that. Roethlisberger threw 4 interceptions, didn't look like himself, and it may be at that point where he's about ready to say goodbye and retire. We shall see. But he's due I don't know if it's $38.1 million next year for a quarterback who doesn't look like he still can do what he does. So congratulations to the Cleveland Browns. Congratulations to the Baltimore Ravens. And next Saturday is going to be a super matchup because we got my man Drew Brees and Tom Brady going at it. The Saints and the Bucks going at it. That's a legendary matchup. See what happens. I guess Brady is I guess he's leading in the score of who was really the person that kept the Patriots, successful. Was it the coach? Was it Bill? Was it Belichick? Or was it Brady? Right now, Brady's up 1-0 because Belichick's sitting home. He's sitting home watching Brady play. I'm sure he's not, but he's sitting home, and Brady's going on to the next round of the playoffs. So congratulations to them. And I wouldn't be honest if I didn't bring up the fact that I think the Knicks have come back down to earth. Yes, it's sad, but 2 losses in a row. One to OKC, one to Denver. I will say that OKC went on the next night and beat Brooklyn too. So, not like they're doing that great, but hey, at least they're still playing well. I think I think that the 4 out of 5 games that they won. Probably they were playing a little bit over their head, and we'll see if they can work it back out. I think the last time I checked tonight's game, they were losing also by 7. But let's go Knicks. Keep it up, man. Bumps in the road. Nobody's expecting you to win a chip, and if you are, you're crazy. But we do want you to play good. We want you to play respectfully and give us something to look at. And hopefully they'll do that. So let's keep on pushing. These next couple of weeks, I'm going to try to, I know I said this before, but I'm really going to try to get more interactive. And got to download some software and stuff like that that will allow me to have a little bit more interaction with people that want to watch. I want to bring on some live guests to talk about what they're up to and what they're doing. I know a lot of talented people. I know a lot of people that are doing their own thing that are not allowing this pandemic or this political arena that's happening right now to affect what they're doing. They are doing their own things. They are making headway. They are making a name for themselves, and I want to bring them on and let them show what they can do, talk about what they can do. Like I said, I have a couple of live broadcasts of some people and their talent, and we're going to be doing that in the next couple of weeks. I just want to thank you guys. This is episode 4, and I haven't been feeling too good this week. And actually, to be perfectly honest, I've been out of work the last couple of days. With the paranoia that's going on, I was a little sick and I had to take a COVID test. So I took a COVID test this past Thursday, got my results back this morning, obviously negative, because I think I'd be a little less chipper if it was positive. But they're just taking every precaution where I work and making sure that anybody that has a sniffle or a fever or a sore throat, it's like, see you, bro, go get a test, and when you get those results, you can come back. And that's cool. It gave me a couple of days off, which was nice, but I'm ready to get back to work and happy that I am healthy and do not have this dreaded virus. So before I go, like I said, this is a shorter show. I'm a little bit under the weather still, but I also don't have my partners here. Certain weeks we'll have more co-hosts, others may just be me. We're winging it. We're trying to figure this out as we go along, so we're having a good time. My producer's watching right now. My producer is my daughter. She does the editing on the videos, and she puts stuff up, and she makes the clips, and she makes the intros, and I love her to death because she is 17, and she doesn't have to do this stuff for her dad, but she does, and she's good at it, so hopefully she'll continue to do things like this in her bright future. Thank you for watching. And before I go, like I said, there's always a story that I end with from my youth. This one goes back a pretty long time, considering my age, and it's a very dark story. I don't tell a lot of people this, but when I was 7 years old, I assaulted a police officer. I know I'm smiling, it's not funny, but when I was 7 years old, I assaulted a police officer. Let me explain. So, I don't know if you guys remember as children of the 70s, a lot of the toys didn't have a lot of imagination. We had maybe you think the greatest toy I had was like the Evel Knievel. But anyway, I had puzzles. I had puzzles that were magnetic. The little pieces that went into the puzzles were magnets. They would do that so the kids wouldn't throw the pieces all over the place and get them lost. They would stick to the board. So one day, I'm looking out the window on the 6th floor of the projects, 170th Washington Avenue. Shout out 1420. I lived on a 6th floor apartment, 6G, and I'm looking down into the grass in the building. Now, if any of you come from the projects, back in the days, there used to be these little booths. Well, not booths, but there used to be these little phone poles that either the fire department or the police department can use to call for backup or to check in to make sure that, they called into their departments. And there was these little phones, and they would open up and they would pick up the phone and be like, hey, da, da, da. And so I'm looking out the window, and there is a police officer on the phone. All right, he can do that. That's what they're there for. I'm playing with my puzzle. I'm 7 years old. I'm playing with my puzzle. I'm loving it. I'm looking out the window, and there were no guards in the window. Those days, it wasn't like, oh, you live in the projects and you have children that are under 10, you have to put the guards on the window. No, we were hanging out the windows. That's another story where I caught my nephew from almost falling out a window. But I'll say that for another day. So I'm looking at the puzzle, and I'm looking at the officer, and I'm looking at the puzzle, and honestly, I did not throw the puzzle. The puzzle slipped out of my hands and flew ever so gently and hit the police officer in the head while he was talking on the phone, checking into his station, I guess. So this is not a light puzzle. These things were kind of heavy. They were like thick plastic and they had metal magnets on them. So I had a little bit of weight to it. So it flies off my window and I'm watching it in slow motion. I'm 7 years old. I'm watching it in slow motion. And it hits him in the head. And he looks up at the window and I'm like, hey, I'm like, okay, sorry. And he counts the floors and runs to the front of the building. I'm pretty sure that I didn't understand what was about to happen. I thought he just had something to do. He ran and I continue playing in my room. Upset though, because I dropped my puzzle. Now I knew that dropping the puzzle was wrong and I could have gotten in trouble for that, so I didn't mention it. All of a sudden there's a knock at the door. Project doors, the big heavy metal knockers. My mother goes to open the door. God rest her soul. Mom passed away back in 1981. She opens the door and it was a black officer, one of many of those in the early 70s. He's in the door and I hear, Frankie, come over here. I come to the door and I'm standing there and I'm in some kind of PJs. I think I used to have these little blue PJs with a little baseball player on, and I think that's what I had on. And he looks at me and he goes, I could just lock you up, right? I could just take the keys and lock you up. And he looks at my mother and he goes, I could just take the keys and lock him up. And my mother looks at him and she goes, you gonna lock up my son, 7 years old? You got nothing better to do? And then she looks at me and she goes, what happened? And I said, I tried, the puzzle fell out the window. And the officer looks at me, he looks at her, and she had no fear because there was no way in hell that she was gonna let anything happen to me from him regardless. So she tells him, listen, he's sorry, that's it. I'll make sure that he doesn't play out the window anymore. You don't need to threaten my son. And he goes, I'm just saying, man, you have to be careful because he could have really hurt me. So he closes the door and they walk away. Now this is one of the times that I did something stupid and my mother didn't make me pay for it because I thought that I was going to, catch one of those, slippers or one of the things that she was so good at utilizing. But I didn't. She just looked at me. She said, are you okay? And I said, yeah. And she said, you can't play with your things by the window. It's dangerous. And I said, okay. And I went back to my room. And I never did that again until there was a day I wanted to go outside. And I wanted to go outside by myself without my sister. So I threw my New York Mets hat out the window so I can go down and get it. The moral of the story is, don't play with your puzzles by the window, children. Don't do it. Because it's only asking for trouble. Trouble with a capital T. So, with that being said, everybody, I will see you guys next week when we have episode 5, and we'll see what crazy stuff is happening right now. We'll see what we can get into. I appreciate you being here for this half hour. I love you all. And remember, be good to yourselves, be good to everybody. Embrace failure because it'll make you prepared for your successes. Embrace that failure. It'll make you prepared for your successes. Peace out, y'all. Love you.